Now at 10 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com. Investigation is underway in Bloomington following a fatal crash. What we know just ahead. Years of planning are finally paying off for Victoria County residents. The long-awaited facility now taking shape. And a Victoria County official gets tapped for a statewide leadership position.
We are tracking a couple of showers in the Crossroads, but not really moving into Victoria. Here you see that's falling apart, but right along 59, got some heavy rain occurring at this hour. How long will that last, and what about tomorrow? We'll have your forecast coming up.
And Cuero and Goliad have revealed their 2026 full football schedules. Look ahead to some of the top matchups later on.
You're watching 25 News now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker. The Texas Highway Patrol is currently investigating a fatal crash between Victoria and Bloomington. Authorities say a person driving a white van at an unsafe speed hit the back of a dump truck. The van then rolled and went into the ditch on the south side of Highway 185. Officers say one person was pronounced dead on the scene. They are working on notifying next of kin. The Victoria County Fire Marshal's office is contained a fire earlier this morning between South and 3rd Street in Telfner. The building, an old schoolhouse, was over 100 years old, with some residents calling it a landmark. A mobile home behind the building also burned down. Officials say the fire started from the right side of the building before it fully consumed the whole building.
You know, it's sad that it burned down. It's like a piece of history been burned away from this town. You know, that was an important establishment here in Telfner, and to have it burned down is really sad.
The Victoria County Fire Marshal's office says the cause of the fire is unknown and remains an active investigation. If you see news happening, call our newsroom at 361-576-0026 or send us an email at staff@crossroadstoday.com. A long-awaited facility is getting closer to becoming a reality. The Victoria County Behavioral Health and Mental Hospital has been in the planning process for a few years now. The county hired Spall Glass Construction, which will manage the construction of the facility and bring in subcontractors to begin the building process. Jody Beckham, President Executive with Spall Glass, says his company has been working on this project for a while and is now ready for the next step.
We originally went under contract with the county in December of 2024, have worked this whole last year to build up our design. Our design now is complete, and we are sending the design documents out to the subcontractors to see if we can get qualified bids.
Beckham says the current plan is to begin construction in March of this year and to have the facility completed by November 2027. Beckham says that all the subcontractors will be local. The Victoria County Behavioral Health and Mental Hospital will be located on Big Bend Drive near the Victoria Regional Airport. Time to check on our weather. Mac Pettis is here. We started the week chilly, and now we're warm. Back and forth seesaw time.
And tomorrow will be chilly. So, I mean, it is kind of a roller coaster here. We have this frontal system bearing down upon us. It was nice and warm today, kind of spring-like, up into the 70s. But tonight, this frontal system will pass through. You can see how it's triggering the shower activity, most of it to the north and east of the city. But tomorrow, we'll have a gusty north wind. It'll be a little cooler, and we'll be talking about that coming up in a moment. Back to you, Don.
Thank you, Mac. Big news from Minneapolis tonight. Multiple officials telling ABC News 8 more federal prosecutors are set to resign in Minnesota. ABC's Matt Rivers in Minneapolis has more, as many are angry over the handling of the investigations into the deadly shooting of Renee Good.
Tonight, an exodus at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota amid growing frustrations over the handling of the killings of mother of 3 Renee Good and ICU nurse Alex Preddy. Multiple officials telling ABC News 8 more federal prosecutors are set to resign after 6 other prosecutors left last month. And late today, emotional testimony on Capitol Hill. Renee Good's brothers demanding justice.
We're here to ask for your help.
Renee's brother Luke saying he struggles to explain the actions of agents to his 4-year-old daughter.
These encounters with federal agents are changing the community and changing many lives, including ours, forever.
The brothers joining several others detailing what they call patterns of abuse by federal agents across the city. A DHS spokesperson responding to the testimony late tonight saying in part, quote, politicians are laying blame at the feet of law enforcement instead of looking in the mirror.
U.S. Borders Tom Holman, now in charge of federal operations in Minneapolis, is set to hold a news conference tomorrow morning. Applications for Texas school vouchers, formerly known as Texas Education Freedom Accounts, open tomorrow. Parents who successfully apply and are sending their kids to private school or homeschooling can get up to $30,000 per child for the next school year. Senate Bill 2 requires Texas to provide $1 billion towards funding students going to private school or homeschool programs. There are now 13 private schools in the Crossroads registered with the Texas Comptroller's Office to join the program. Devon Energy and Coterra Energy are merging in a nearly $58 billion all-stock deal, creating one of the biggest shale producers in the U.S. The new company will mainly focus on the Delaware Basin, but both already operate in South Texas, including parts of the Eagle Ford. For DeWitt and Karnes counties, analysts expect things to stay steady for now, with no layoffs or drilling cuts announced. The merger aims for efficiency and long-term growth, so Eagle Ford assets are likely to stay in the mix. The deal should wrap up in the second quarter of next year. The urgent search and the race against time to find the mother of NBC News Today Show host Savannah Guthrie. ABC's Trevor Ault is in Tucson, where it's been more than 60 hours since Nancy Guthrie was taken from her home.
Tonight, mounting frustration in the search for Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie, now missing for nearly 3 days, as investigators say she was abducted in the middle of the night. But they still have no idea who took her or how many suspects could be involved.
No clue. It could have been one, it could have been more. I don't know.
The sheriff has said Guthrie relies on daily medication that was left behind at the house, and 24 hours without it could be fatal. Now, more than 60 hours since she was taken, the sheriff asked if they're searching for someone who is still alive.
We hope we are. We hope we are.
Tonight, the sheriff's office tells ABC News it's reviewing possible ransom notes sent to TV stations and forwarded to police, working to determine if they're legitimate. Earlier today, we asked the sheriff about ransom notes.
You said we're following all leads. Does that mean a ransom has come in?
We are following all leads we have. That's all I can tell you.
Love you. We love you.
Nancy Guthrie has frequently appeared on her daughter's show.
Is there any indication so far as to whether this was a random abduction or targeted?
We're looking at all the leads, and we don't know. We're going to assume both sides of that. We'll look at both sides of that.
The sheriff's office tells me they've received hundreds of tips, and while there are security cameras at the home, they still haven't been able to access the footage, and one camera that was attached to the front of the house is missing. The sheriff says so far no DNA results have identified any suspects.
The FBI is also assisting in the investigation, analyzing cell phones and conducting interviews. Savannah Guthrie has posted on social media asking for prayers and writing, "Bring her home." Trevor Ault, ABC News, Tucson, Arizona.
Victoria County Judge Ben Zeller not only oversees the affairs in Victoria County, but he now has a say in what goes on at the state level. Zeller was appointed to the role of legislative chair for the county judges and commissioners of Texas. This role gives Zeller the ability to shape policies and preserve and promote local decision-making policies. Zeller says this position will be able to give Victoria County a stronger voice in Austin.
Appreciate the chance to serve, and having a loud voice like this benefits our community and benefits all the residents of Victoria County and counties across the state.
Zeller previously served as the legislative chair for the county judges and commissioners of Texas back in 2024. To get more news, weather, and sports, come to our website, crossroadstoday.com. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Then you can see Crossroads Today on YouTube. And stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, military tensions rise in the Middle East as diplomatic talks continue. Also, after an elections raid, President Trump makes a demand about who should run elections.
The gowns, the venues, the DJs. It's a celebration like no other, but it's also a financial puzzle for families across our community.
Like, I want to do all of that. I want to have the dress, I want to have the crown, I want to have the party.
quinceañeras, tradition meets economics. 25 News Now morning anchor Carolina Astrain explores how culture, celebration, and money come together in one of life's biggest milestones. Thursday at 10 p.m.
Between the U.S. and Iran continue. U.S. Central Command reports an American fighter jet shot down an Iranian drone approaching the USS Abraham Lincoln. Here's ABC's chief global affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz with what President Trump is now saying about Iran.
The USS carrier Lincoln was some 500 miles from Iran's southern coast in international waters when U.S. Central Command says an Iranian drone aggressively approached the carrier with unclear intent. Despite attempts to de-escalate the situation by U.S. forces, they say the drone continued its approach toward the ship and a U.S. F-35 fighter jet shot it down. President Trump has made it clear he will take military action against Iran if they do not negotiate a deal on their nuclear program or support of proxy groups.
They are negotiating. They'd like to do something, and we'll see if something is going to be done. They had a chance to do something a while ago, and it didn't work out.
But hours after the drone was shot down, the president said negotiations with Iran planned for later this week in Turkey will continue.
President Trump is always wanting to pursue diplomacy first, but obviously it takes two to tango.
The Iranians say they want a diplomatic solution as well, and yet hours after the drone was shot down, another drone and multiple Iranian boats were harassing a U.S.-flagged tanker, prompting a U.S. destroyer to come to its aid. So the tensions do remain high. Martha Raddatz, ABC News, Washington.
Senator Mitch McConnell checked himself into a hospital to be evaluated Monday night after experiencing flu-like symptoms last weekend. A spokesman for the 83-year-old Republican Kentucky senator said that, and Tuesday's statement noted McConnell checked himself in out of an abundance of caution. His office said the former Senate GOP leader has a positive prognosis, is in regular contact with his staff, and looks forward to returning to Senate business. The 83-year-old announced last year that he will retire at the end of his current term and will not seek re-election this year. President Trump released a rendering of his White House ballroom on social media, saying it's the first one shown to the public. The architect behind the project says the expansion will feature a 22,000 square foot ballroom with seating for 1,000 people. By contrast, the executive mansion of the White House is 55,000 square feet. Trump has said the ballroom will be fully funded by private donations, with his estimate on the price starting at $200 million last summer and increasing to a current price tag of $400 million. The partial government shutdown has come to an end. President Trump signed into law a massive funding bill to end the brief government shutdown hours after the bill passed in a bipartisan vote. The measure funds the government through the end of September, while providing the Department of Homeland Security with short-term funding for 2 weeks. Lawmakers will go back to the negotiating table to work out a DHS funding deal. Tonight, President Trump is doubling down on his calls for Republicans to nationalize elections. ABC senior political correspondent Rachel Scott is at the White House as the president remains focused on the 2020 election.
So we have the right to be here.
Tonight, new video of the moments FBI agents raided the election office in Fulton County, Georgia, to seize ballots and voting records from the 2020 election.
One way or the other, the records are coming with us today.
Agents later speaking with President Trump, who falsely claims he won Georgia in 2020. Fulton County Commissioner today saying the president can't accept the fact that he lost.
If they believe that Fulton County is a hotbed of fraud, why are they only looking at the 2020 election? Why not look at the 2024 election where he won? Why not look at the 2016 election where he won, right? Because he likes the outcome.
Former President Joe Biden won the 2020 election by 7 million votes, and the Electoral College 306 to 232. Today, surrounded by top Republicans, President Trump doubled down on his call for the federal government to take over elections, even though the Constitution says that's a job for the states.
If a state can't run an election, I think the people behind me should do something about it. Because, you know, if you think about it, a state is an agent for the federal government in elections. I don't know why the federal government doesn't do them anyway.
And those Republicans were in the Oval Office as the president signed a bill to end a partial government shutdown, keeping agencies running until the end of the year. Meanwhile, discussions with the White House continue on Democrat demands to make reforms to immigration enforcement. Rachel Scott, ABC News, the White House.
Meat processors are facing major challenges amid high cattle prices, with reports indicating that beef prices have risen by over 16% last year and are expected to remain high this year. Tyson Foods anticipates losing up to $500 million in its beef business due to the low cattle supply, which has reached its lowest level in 75 years. Fewer cattle are available for feedlots, leading to higher prices for meat processors. Despite these challenges, consumer demand for beef is strong, which may help stabilize prices in the near future. You could soon see the price of your favorite snacks up by about 15%. PepsiCo, which makes brands like Doritos, Lay's, and Cheetos, says it's slashing prices in response to customer complaints about cost. PepsiCo's U.S. CEO says they recognize customers are feeling the financial strain, and the price cuts are meant to ease that pressure. Shoppers should start seeing lower prices this week. The products will get new labels highlighting the reduced prices. PepsiCo says retailers still set final shelf prices, and savings may vary by store. Spain and Greece on Tuesday are proposing bans on social media use by teenagers. It marks a hardening of attitudes by European nations against technology platforms they say are designed to be addictive and can expose children to harmful content. Spain wants to prohibit social media for those aged under 16. Greece is close to announcing a similar ban for children under 15. They join a host of countries such as Britain and France considering tougher stances on social media. And security measures are already going into effect at the site of Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara, California. There's a temporary ban on drones in the area around Levi Stadium. The ban issued by the FAA stretches from the stadium venue over to San Francisco and also around notable landmarks in the area. A retired deputy chief with San Francisco's police department says the drone ban serves two purposes. It's not only to prevent malicious intent, but also clears the airspace.
Well, good evening, everyone. We're looking at 63 degrees. You might have noticed the day was, shall we say, very spring-like, okay? The temperatures got up into the upper 70s. As a matter of fact, the high temperature was 79. I had said yesterday that we probably were going to be the hottest place in the country. Got beat out by Indio, California, but then that's the low desert, and they were at 89, so they kind of beat it. Anyway, it's not going to be that cool, warm tomorrow. The cooler air is coming in tonight. We'll be talking about that coming up in a moment. Well, we have that little frontal system that's bearing down upon the crossroads, and you can see how it is triggering a line of showers. But you know that fence that we have around Victoria County that doesn't allow the rain to come in? There it is, and look at that. It gets real close, passed through Hallettsville, but it's all falling apart. Heaviest stuff now, as you can see, going right up 59. And, well, let's see, not far from Wharton is probably a fairly heavy thunderstorm right there. Boom, coming down, and heavier stuff moving down south of Houston now. This activity is being pushed by the frontal system, as you can see right about here, and very triggered by it. But behind it, we've got this north wind. That'll be here certainly after midnight. Certainly by sunrise, you'll be feeling a cooler north wind blowing, and it will be drier. It'll be sunny, but it won't be quite as spring-like as it was today as the cooler air comes in. Now here's Future Tracker. We start tonight, we move forward. You can see how all the rain showers move down. None of this is really huge, but it's nice to get anything right about now. But there you see the north wind taking over in the morning, and then by afternoon we'll be having lots of sun, but it will be a little on the breezy side, and it'll feel colder. I mean, with highs in the 60s and a 25-mile-an-hour wind, it'll feel, we had the wind chill. You'll get to feel that. Well, what about the temperatures? Well, for tomorrow morning, we'll get down to 51. And then for Thursday, we'll get down to about 39. Now, that is going to be the coldest morning of the week. And then as we get into the weekend, we actually start warming up a little bit. With a little luck, we may be seeing some stuff come at us from the west coast. Now, we are at the absolute tail end of this storm front that is going to be another snowmaker for the southeastern states. So places like North Carolina, South Carolina, getting more snow out of that system. And then there's another bigger storm coming in over the weekend for the northeast. For us, we continue with that northwest flow. That is a dry air mass, but then you'll see it kind of dropping and dropping and dropping. And what does that mean? Well, it's finally going to allow a southwest flow to kick in, and that's going to bring moisture on top of our cool air. So by the time we get to Monday and Tuesday, we've got a shot at getting some sort of precipitation around here. I don't see it as heavy. It's certainly not ice, not cold, because it's from the deep south, but it is at least, you know, going to give us something, hopefully. These are the low temperatures in the morning. And we'll go for the high temperatures tomorrow. We'll be in the 60s. You can see, you know, Indio, California is right about here, so they'll be about 80 degrees. But our friends back in the east, yep, it's definitely wintertime there. 26, the Chicago high, and 18 in Cleveland. All right, so what about us? We are looking at a pretty sunny day tomorrow, a very nice day, a little breezy and a little cooler as well. Morning low temperature of about 55 in Port Lavaca, getting up to only 67. You'll be feeling that wind. It'll be a little on the blustery side. So gusty winds and northerly winds will keep Cuero cool, and a high of only 68 as opposed to the 80 that we had today. So after the front tonight, we've got clear, dry air, a little on the cool side, then warming up for the weekend. In fact, look at that. Sunday, 80 degrees. It happens to be a little bit of a game going on that day, right? And we might be able to watch it outside. Super Bowl Sunday. Looking for a high of 80. That's your forecast. Reminding everybody we do have a QR code. We'd love for you to scan that. Put Crossroads Today on your phone. Isn't that right, Max? There's a big game on Sunday.
I was going to say, Max, we can watch the Super Bowl there on our patios there here in Texas, but it looked like in Cleveland, not so much where I'm from, right up there, 18 degrees. Probably not what you should do if you want to watch it there at the big game. But speaking of big games in high school, actually, Victoria East girls basketball and Faith Academy boys basketball, they took center stage for Tuesday Night Hoops. We'll look at both of these games next in Sports. So tonight for our basketball coverage, we only took just a short trip down here on Mockingbird Lane to Faith Academy, where they face the Hallettsville Sacred Heart Indians in district action tonight. The Cougars heading to this one 1-4 overall, while Sacred Heart was looking to actually get their first district win tonight. But the Cougars, they came out red hot shooting. They were looked like 6 for 8 behind the three-point line. That was just in the first half alone, and they kind of secured that the rest of the way, winning 68-32. Jackson both on the way in scoring tonight for the Cougars with 14, with Jaden Valdez having 13, and now having that kind of momentum. Now they're 2-4 overall. They still got a couple games left in district, so maybe they can turn around, maybe make a run out there in the postseason. We head over to 5A girls hoops, where Fort Bend Marshall was traveling to face Victoria East Titans tonight. Both these teams were trying to still fight for the number 4 seed. Well, for East, they established the lead early, and the Buffaloes, they fought back kind of midway in the second quarter, but East would find a way to prevail, winning 48-43. Leading scorers Avery Valentine in tonight having 16 points, and Kamari Clark added 13 as well. So now the Titans, with this win now, they are now at the number 3 spot in district. I said number 4. Well, now they're number 3 at 7-5 because their team out in Victoria West beat Terry tonight 46-27, meaning Terry is now tied with Marshall at 6-6. East is at 7-5. You have Randall now at 9-3, second spot, and now West is at number 1 for girls basketball at 11-1 overall. So still 2 more games left to go for East. Big time win probably secures them up into the postseason. Now for our 6 p.m. show, we highlight Victoria East and West on the football for their football schedules coming up. Well, for our 10 o'clock show, we're going to look at Cuero and Goliad football schedule for the 2026 year. With Cuero, they open up versus the 3A Division I state champs at home versus Yoakum on August 28th. And that's going to be a rivalry game, and it's probably going to be one of the best games to watch in week 1. And the next 3 weeks are going to be tough. They're going to be at Lavernia, at Sinton in week 3, and then they host Calhoun in week 4. They won't begin district play until week 6. That'll start on October 9th against San Antonio Memorial. And then they'll also battle a tough team in their district as well, Navarro. That'll be on October 23rd. Now for Goliad, they're going to be staying in 3 Division I, but they'll be in Region 4 District 15, along with multiple other Corpus teams, including Sinton, moving over in that district. They open up the season on the road at Rockport Fulton on August 28th. Then in weeks 2 and 3, they will host non-district opponents in Tidehaven in week 2, Refugio in week 3, and they'll still have that rivalry with Edna in week 5 action on September 25th. And then their district opener will be against Orange Grove, which was a great game last year. They're going to be facing again to start up district this year, and then they host their district home opener versus Sinton. That'll be on October 16th. So if you want to see the full Cuero and Goliad schedules, go to crossingtoday.com/sports. Now, yesterday we highlighted multiple El Campo swimmers heading over to the state meet. Well, for Bay City, they had a couple other representatives as well. For swimmer Gennaro Flores, and 2 divers also were named there. Ian Ramos and sophomore Sam Cano are also going next week out there for the districts in the state and swim dive meet. That's going to be held in San Antonio. Now, also wanted to shout out, how about someone from Calvin Simpson, the dad, sending out Sydney Sims from Victoria West. They played tonight against Richmond Thomas. How about this header right here? Getting it off inside the goal. It would help actually be the lone goal for Victoria West to get the win 1-0 tonight. And for West, they needed to get this victory. They had a tough loss last week to Victoria East, and good there for Sydney Simpson, getting a nice, perfect ball, perfect placement in there for the goal. And shout out there Victoria West for girls soccer, as now they're back 3-1 in district and looking to get back on track overall. And finally, Texas and Victoria softball, they sweep their doubleheader versus Concordia, Texas, winning 10-1 in game 1 in a 5-inning contest. And then they pulled away to win game 2 6-3 as Daisy Fuentes and Alyssa Carter led the way with 2 RBIs apiece in game 1. And Carter also had 2 RBIs, including Faith Hoover as well in game 2 to help get that win. So now they're 4-0 overall. Then we're traveling out to LSU Alexandria outside in Pineville, Louisiana, there for this weekend. And that's going to do it here in sports. Don, back to you.
Max, thank you. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, we'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, a zoo in Iowa has an unusual way of making predictions. The furry forecasters with an impressive track record.
Tonight, the toupees are coming off. When he came out, I thought, oh, yeah, he's big. He's Sam Malone. There he is, big.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. That did it for me. I'm back. I'm back.
A zoo in Des Moines, Iowa is having some of its residents pick a winner. The Blank Park Zoo left its African lions make their prediction. Deuce and Zarina had their choice of 2 barrels, each adorned with the logos of the Seattle Seahawks and New England Patriots. Zarina stepped in and made her pick, the Seahawks. The zoo's animals have been correct nearly 80% of the time over the years. I'm surprised they didn't pick Detroit. And a teen in Maine has made the trip to Santa Clara, California for Super Bowl 60. It's all thanks to Make-A-Wish. On Tuesday, the lifelong Patriots fan was surrounded by friends and family as he got a boisterous send-off out west. 15-year-old Avery McNair has been a New England Patriots fan for as long as he can remember. Avery has spent the last 2 years undergoing treatments for leukemia. In 2023, Make-A-Wish asked Avery out of anything in the world what he wanted to do. The answer, the big one, the Super Bowl, and so he is there. That is awesome. Hats off to them, and hats off to Make-A-Wish is fantastic.
They're an awesome organization, and they do a lot of great things.
There's one famous athlete who has accepted more dates with Make-A-Wish people than anybody else. Anybody want to? I won't even take a guess because it's John Cena. the former wrestling star. Whenever Make a Wish
Yeah.
is called, John Cena has been there.
Absolutely.
Whenever, wherever. It's a fantastic organization.
And we'll be able to watch the Super Bowl sitting in short pants and in the backyard because it's going to be about 80 degrees on Sunday around here. So consider what the rest of the country is shivering through. Although, you know, California is not going to be unpleasant weather. It's going to be fairly nice.
Nice out there.
They are always looking at good weather in Santa Clara. For to us, tomorrow, north wind kicks in. It'll be a little cooler, drier, and it'll be sunny for the next few days. Chilly mornings in the 40s and mild daytimes. But as we get to the weekend, Super Bowl weekend, looking for 80 degrees on Sunday.
Because the weather could be good in the Bay Area, but there is another factor. Because yesterday there were around 30 earthquakes in that area, about 4.3, but...
and we know what happens on big games.
Whole lot of shaking going on.
You bet.
Yes. Thank you, Mac. Thanks for joining us. 25 News Sunrise at 5 a.m. Jimmy Kimmel Live starts now.